Okay, we're diving straight into a really significant story today.
Mm-hmm.
The passing of Virginia Giuffre. She was 41, based in Western Australia.
Yeah, and her family reported it as suicide, which is just deeply sad news.
It really is. Especially given, her huge role as an accuser of Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew.
And her whole life story, really,
Yeah.
as a victim of sexual abuse, of sex trafficking, puts it in a very stark context.
Absolutely. So this isn't just recounting the news headlines.
No, not at all. We need to really try and unpack the layers here, connect what just happened with her whole past and the wider Epstein scandal.
Right. We want to understand those connections.
Exactly.
So to do that, we've gathered quite a range of sources. We've got news reports on her death, the circumstances around it.
We also have timelines looking back at her involvement in the Epstein case over the years.
And key bits from legal documents, especially concerning the lawsuit against Prince Andrew.
Yeah, the goal is really to kind of distill the most important parts of what's, let's face it, a very complex situation for you.
Okay. So where should we start? Maybe the immediate context, what we know about her death.
Yeah, let's start there. Reports suggest that leading up to her passing, she was dealing with some serious health issues.
Yes, and it seems like a recent, pretty severe car accident might have been a major factor.
That's what's being reported. That she developed renal failure, kidney failure after this accident.
And there was that social media post, supposedly from her, mentioning being given 4 days to live.
Right, although we should add, the sort of complete accuracy or authenticity of that specific post has been questioned by some. Her publicist apparently didn't confirm it.
Okay, so some uncertainty there. But the link between a bad car crash and renal failure, that's a real thing, medically speaking.
Oh, absolutely. There are a few ways it can happen based on, medical understanding. Well, you can have massive muscle damage. It's called rhabdomyolysis. Basically, damaged muscles release stuff into the blood that can just overwhelm the kidneys.
Okay.
Or severe blood loss. That causes a big drop in blood pressure, so not enough blood gets to the kidneys. Hypovolemic shock, they call it.
Right. Makes sense.
Then there's the possibility of, direct physical injury to the kidneys in the crash itself.
Uh-huh.
And also just the body's massive inflammatory response to a major trauma like that can sometimes damage the kidneys too.
Wow. So several potential pathways. It really paints a picture of a body under, immense stress.
It does. And we also know she'd been hospitalized back in 2023 for spinal surgery.
Right, so these recent health problems weren't exactly coming out of the blue. There was a backdrop of other issues.
Exactly. It adds to the picture of recent significant health challenges.
Okay, so if we shift focus now to the part of her life that, most people know her for.
Her role in the Epstein scandal.
Yeah, her accusations against Jeffrey Epstein and, of course, Prince Andrew.
She alleged that back in the early 2000s, she would have been about 17.
Right, just a teenager.
That she was trafficked by Epstein, essentially forced into sexual encounters with Prince Andrew.
And she named specific places: London, New York, Epstein's private island.
It's also, I think, important to remember that she'd already reached a settlement with Epstein himself way back in 2009.
Yes, that settlement. It came up again later, didn't it?
It did, because while she got financial compensation, the agreement had this clause releasing other, quote, potential defendants.
And that became a huge point of argument in her later case against Prince Andrew.
Precisely. But she really stepped into the public eye with her story around 2010, didn't she?
Yeah, that's when she became like a really visible face among the victims.
And then there's that photo.
The one with Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell. She said it was taken March 10th, 2001.
Which was the date she alleged the assault happened in London.
Yeah, that photo has been analyzed endlessly.
It really has. And it's complex, isn't it? Because there are these different interpretations.
What do you mean?
Well, some people pointed out, look, she was seen wearing the exact same outfit a couple of months later, May 2001, at Naomi Campbell's birthday party.
Right. And they used that to question her timeline, her account.
They did. But then others countered, saying, hang on, if she was being trafficked, maybe that outfit was effectively like a uniform she was made to wear?
A work uniform, some suggested.
Yeah. It just shows how hard it is to interpret these sort of fragmented bits of evidence in such a, frankly, disturbing situation.
Definitely highlights the complexities. Okay, let's talk about the lawsuit itself.
Yeah.
Against Prince Andrew.
Right. She filed that civil case in August 2021.
Using New York's Child Victims Act, which had opened a window for older claims.
Exactly. And throughout all this, Prince Andrew just consistently, flatly denied everything, all wrongdoing.
His legal team tried really hard to get it thrown out, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. They leaned heavily on that 2009 Epstein settlement.
Arguing he was covered as a potential defendant?
That was the main thrust. They also tried to argue she didn't technically live in New York anymore, so couldn't sue there. Residency requirements.
But the judge wasn't buying it.
Well, ultimately, the judge said, no, the case can go forward.
And then, quite suddenly, just before it was potentially going to trial.
February 2022, they reached an out-of-court settlement.
Right, and we never found out the exact amount of money involved. That stayed confidential.
True, the financial details weren't public, but the statement that came with the settlement was significant.
What did it say again?
Prince Andrew agreed to make a, quote, substantial donation to Giuffre's charity for victims' rights.
Okay.
And, crucially, he publicly acknowledged that Epstein was a sex trafficker and that Giuffre was a victim of abuse because of that trafficking.
So not admitting to what she accused him of specifically.
No admission of liability for the specific acts, but acknowledging her status as a victim of Epstein's trafficking. That was, well, pretty notable.
Yeah, it felt like a shift. And the fallout for him personally during that time was huge.
Absolutely massive. Stripped of his military titles, his royal patronages.
It showed just how damaging the whole thing was, the pressure he was under.
Definitely. But beyond that big public legal fight, she was also dealing with some really tough personal things. Legally, familially.
Yeah, the report said she separated from her husband, Robert Giuffre, around August 2023, after, 22 years together?
That's right. And then more recently, and this is tragic too, in late March 2025, she actually accused him of physical abuse.
Which then led to her own legal problems.
Yeah, she ended up being charged herself in Western Australia with breaching a family violence restraining order.
Wow.
She had a court date coming up in June 2025, hadn't entered a plea yet.
So it's a stark reminder that while this huge public battle was playing out,
she was navigating some really serious personal turmoil at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so thinking about her legacy now, I mean, it's undeniable, isn't it? She was such a key witness.
Absolutely pivotal. A first-hand voice that really helped expose Epstein's network, brought the horrors to a much wider audience.
Shed light on what was going on.
Definitely. And, the sad reality is with her passing, the chance to get more clarity from her directly, that's probably gone.
Any inconsistencies in her accounts over the years, things she might have clarified or expanded on?
Exactly. That opportunity seems lost. And the bigger picture, the full scope of Epstein's network, so much of that is still hidden, isn't it?
For sure.
So aspects of what she knew, what she truly endured, we might never fully understand now.
And there are still those lingering questions, like where did the money for Prince Andrew's settlement actually come from?
Right. The UK Treasury said no public money was used, but the precise source wasn't revealed.
And now she obviously can't give any more insight into that settlement, the agreement.
No. It's also, well, it's very moving when you read the statement her family put out.
Yeah, talking about the toll of abuse just becoming too much to carry.
But also calling her a fierce warrior, a beacon for other survivors.
And she founded that charity, SOR Speak Out, Act, Reclaim.
Yes, helping other survivors of sexual assault. Her family says they want to carry on that work.
Which is, a powerful part of her legacy, too.
It is. It's also interesting just from a legal strategy perspective to remember that the prosecutors in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial...
Right. They chose not to call Giuffre, didn't they?
They didn't include her specific allegations in their case. It was likely, a strategic move.
To avoid opening her up to cross-examination, maybe challenges to her credibility, given all the scrutiny.
Probably something like that. To keep their case focused and perhaps less vulnerable to those kinds of attacks.
And we even saw, a glimpse of how polarizing this all is with those initial comments from Prince Andrew's ex, Lady Victoria Hervey.
Oh, yeah, that was controversial. And then she quickly backtracked.
But it just showed the really strong divided reactions people have to this whole saga.
It really did. And ultimately, as, various news outlets are concluding, her death just leaves. Well, a lot of unanswered questions about Epstein, the network, the full reach of it all.
Yeah. This whole deep dive, it really lays bare just a tangled web of events, doesn't it? Leading to this really profound loss.
It does. And it's so important, I think, to keep the human side in focus.
The trauma.
The trauma, the incredible courage it took to fight for justice like she did.
And the personal struggles under just unbelievable public pressure and scrutiny.
Yeah. And while, some bits of her story found a conclusion, like the civil suit settling,
right,
her passing just really highlights how many parts of this much bigger, much darker story are still unresolved.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As we process this news, maybe consider what are the wider implications when key voices like hers, people central to exposing abuse, are silenced?
Yeah, what does it mean for our collective understanding? And, what's our responsibility maybe to keep seeking truth and accountability, even when it gets harder, even when voices fade?
Something to really reflect on beyond just the headlines of this case.